In one of the busiest cities, inside a towering corporate office, worked a young woman named Zainab. She wasn't one of the high-salaried employees or those who wore designer clothes to work. Instead, she was the quiet, humble assistant who blended into the background. Zainab belonged to a poor family, and her life was a story of survival. Her father had passed away years ago, leaving behind a sick mother and 2 younger siblings. From that day, Zainab carried the weight of the entire household on her fragile shoulders. Every morning, she squeezed into crowded buses, clutching her worn-out handbag, and made her way to the office. She worked tirelessly throughout the day and returned home late at night, only to face another set of responsibilities. Yet, despite the chaos of her life, Zainab always wore a faint smile, as if hiding the storms inside her heart. The office where she worked was ruled by a man known for his discipline and perfectionism, Mr. Arsalan Khan, the general director. He was respected, even feared, for his sharp decisions and cold demeanor. To his employees, he was a man of stone, one who rarely showed emotions. But behind those stern eyes lay a history of pain no one knew about. One fateful morning, a board meeting was scheduled. Everyone was tense, trying to ensure that no mistake would upset the director. Zainab hurried across the hall, carrying files and papers in her arms. Along with them, she had unknowingly tucked in a small envelope that held something deeply personal, an old ultrasound scan. As she rushed into the conference room, the envelope slipped from her hands and fell to the ground. Zainab panicked and bent down quickly, but before she could grab it, Mr. Arsalan picked it up. Curious, he opened the envelope. Inside was the black and white image of an unborn child. It was an ultrasound. For a moment, he stared at it blankly. Then his eyes shifted to the date printed on the report. Suddenly, his hands trembled. His face turned pale. A shadow of grief clouded his eyes, and for the first time in front of his employees, the ruthless director looked utterly broken. Zainab froze. Her worst fear had come true. The secret she had fought so hard to keep was now lying in her boss's hands. The director's silence. Arsalan's lips parted, and his voice came out heavy, trembling. This date, he whispered. Do you know what this date means to me? Zainab stood speechless, her eyes filling with tears. Arsalan continued, his voice choking with memories. This is the very date I lost everything. Years ago, my wife was expecting our child. That day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, the day I would become a father. But fate was cruel. A tragic accident took both my wife and my unborn baby away from me. Since then, this date has haunted me like a curse. He clenched the ultrasound in his hand, his eyes glistening. And today, of all days, I see it again, on your report. Zainab's hidden struggle. Unable to hold back anymore, Zainab broke down. Sir, this is my baby. I never wanted anyone to find out. I was trying to carry this burden alone. Arsalan looked at her in disbelief. Your baby? But how? You're not married. Her tears flowed as she finally let out the story she had buried in her heart for so long. I loved someone with all my soul. He promised me marriage, promised me a future. But when I needed him the most, he abandoned me. I searched for him, waited for him, but he never came back. And then, I discovered I was going to be a mother. I was shattered. Society would never forgive me, my family would never accept it. But in the middle of all the shame, all the fear, I felt this baby's heartbeat inside me, and I knew, I had to protect this life, no matter what. Her sobs echoed in the silent room. I worked day and night to hide my truth. Not even my sick mother knows. This ultrasound was just a memory I carried with me, and today, it slipped out. A heart that remembered. For a long moment, Arsalan said nothing. His face was unreadable, but his eyes betrayed a storm of emotions. He was looking at Zainab, but in his mind, he saw the ghost of his own unborn child. Finally, he spoke, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard. You carried this alone, all this pain, all this weight, and yet you stood strong. Do you know how rare that is? Zainab lowered her gaze, unable to answer. A new beginning. From that day, something changed. Arsalan was no longer the same cold-hearted director in front of Zainab. He began to notice her, to speak kindly to her, to quietly support her. He saw in her strength a reflection of what he had lost, and in her unborn child, he saw the second chance destiny had given him. Months later, the day arrived when Zainab gave birth. When Arsalan first held the tiny baby in his arms, tears rolled down his cheeks freely. The cries of the newborn filled the hospital room, and with them, Arsalan's heart, once broken and empty, was filled with life again. He whispered to the baby, his voice trembling, "You are not just her child, you are mine too. Because you gave me back the reason to live." Zainab watched silently, her heart overwhelmed. For the first time in years, she felt she was not alone. Her burden had turned into a blessing.